to be back with you guys today. Oh my goodness. Happy New Year. I hope that this past holiday season has been a blessing and that the new year has been an awesome start for you. I am excited to be here with you today. A little apprehensive, if I'm being totally honest with you. I know our last podcast, I promised that I was going to be back. I think it was January 4th. And it is far past January 4th, and here I am. I myself have just been through some processes over the last 6 to 8 weeks or so. There's been some big, heavy stuff that has gone on, and just some light, just regular life stuff that's been going on. And I found myself just in this space that I have found myself often before, which is just kind of down, not feeling very positive, feeling pretty closed off, feeling frustrated, feeling a little bit angry, feeling a little bit sad, feeling a little bit lost. There was a moment a few weeks there where I just felt like I was kind of floating through the world and not really connected or grounded or centered or sure at all. And there wasn't anything particular that was really taking place. It was just kind of a culmination of a lot of things and just was. I was just really didn't have an explanation as to why I was feeling that way. I just was. And so I just let myself be. And I am very blessed where I have created this life and opportunity and support system in place where when I need to just be, I am able to just be. And so I spent a lot of time at home, working from home. There was a couple weeks where I wasn't feeling well and kind of down with a cold. And so I was home quite a bit. And so I just let myself be. And I hope that when you too find yourselves in places in your life where you'd probably prefer not to be, and there you are, feeling yourself not feeling well or feeling low or feeling frustrated or angry or just not sure, that you too would just let yourself be. And then give yourself the love and compassion and grace to just get curious about what's going on and why is this there? And I'm very, very grateful that I was able to cultivate that awareness to just let myself be there. There was a time during this process where I was not, where I was judging myself as bad and wrong, where I was, how come I can't get my stuff together? Shouldn't I have all my stuff together? Here we are again. I've got all these beautiful, great things going for me, and here I am feeling low. What's the matter with me? And all that kind of stuff. And all that kind of stuff just creates more of that negative feeling. So I invite you to let those feelings and thoughts and judgments go and to just let yourself be. We are spiritual beings living a human experience, and with that comes very human experiences like what I described. And sometimes they are there to give you some awareness or to allow you to dig a little deeper or to clear something else out or to grow you in some way that you didn't know that needed to be grown. And so we're going to flush this out today, actually. I thought starting this year, I was going to start the podcast with all this great business stuff and be really kind of creating mission and vision for your life and business. That was my hope for my first podcast of 2023, and then kind of going from there. And God obviously has other plans. What I want to talk with you all today is about our thoughts and how our thoughts create our reality. They create our life. And if we can change our thoughts, we can absolutely change our life. It's a universal and biblical principle. The Bible says that as a man thinks, so is he. The Bible also says to speak those things that are not as though they already are. So we're going to use those two principles to build on this today. So what I was experiencing when I began to get clear and just let myself be and let go of the judgment, I just got curious about, okay, Jen, what is going on? And my first recollection was, gosh, my body doesn't feel good. I feel exhausted. I was like feeling very depleted and really tired. And no matter what I did, no matter what I nourished my body, with food, I hydrated my body. I was taking vitamins. I was eating what I thought to be the right things. And I was still feeling completely exhausted. I would start the day exhausted, end the day exhausted. I was trying to get myself together, go to work. I'd work just feeling depleted, like I was just pouring from an empty cup. And when I let go of the frustration of it and the judgment of it, and I realized, oh, my thoughts, holy cow. I started to get clear and realize my thoughts are a hot mess right now. I've got these thoughts running through my mind and my subconscious that are, you are bad and wrong. Why don't you just get it together? What's wrong with you? I am not doing the right thing. I was complaining about my life. Look at my house not together. Look at this relationship not where I want it to be. Look at my business not necessarily where I wanted it to be. We had experienced where the last quarter of the year, we had such slow business where we hadn't experienced that little bit of business the entire time we've been in business. And it seemed like everyone just stopped wanting to buy or sell real estate at the end of the quarter of the year. And so there were some financial concerns, some feelings of failure. What it allowed me to do is just say, okay, well, this is where we're at. And how are we going to get to where we want to be? Well, the reality is we can get all the physical things right. We can be doing all the right things. We can be wearing the right clothes and hanging out with the right people and saying the right things. But if we aren't thinking the right things and our thought life is not in order, then our life is not going to be in order. That's the reality. So I'm really grateful to have been experiencing this time because it allowed me to really see the way my thoughts were affecting my life and just my physical body and the way I was feeling and the way I was interacting with the world and interacting with myself, interacting with my family, interacting with my team. So there's a couple things I want to talk with you guys about. As I have all these tools, right, that I've gained from ILA and just from my coaching and different classes and things. And the first one I want to talk with you about is the drama triangle. So when we are on the drama triangle, and we don't have to just be on the drama triangle in relationship with other people, we can definitely be on the drama triangle in our own minds with our own thoughts. And what that looks like is when we're on the drama triangle, we are either being a persecutor, we're persecuting ourselves or persecuting someone else. We're basically calling them wrong or bad, or you should be or could be doing something different, but you're not. And what the heck is wrong with you? Or we could be a victim. You can be a victim to the circumstance or the situation, and oh, because of this, this is why, and I'm just a victim too, and because of all these things. And then we can be a rescuer. And just like we can do this out in the open in life and relationships, we can do this in our own mind, where we're then wanting to rescue ourselves with food or with alcohol or with drugs or with relationships or with television or with numbing, any kind of numbing behavior, any kind of coping that is not self-care behavior, rescuing ourselves from feeling that way. Rescue can look like staying home and not going out and not letting others experiencing all your glory. So we can be a persecutor, we can be a victim, we can be a rescuer when we're on the drama triangle. This is just depleting emotions. No long-term positive solutions are going to happen anytime we're on the drama triangle. So to shift our thoughts and our behavior from drama, which is no long-term positive solutions, we shift over into the empowerment triangle, which when we are on the empowerment triangle, instead of a persecutor, we are taking responsibility. What is it? Let's look. I don't have my little title on this page. Instead of a rescuer, instead of a persecutor, we are empowering. So to empower ourselves, persecutors take responsibility for their anger by monitoring themselves, giving themselves timeouts, and/or appropriately handling their emotions, and learn to use their power and compassion to be respected rather than feared. So an affirmation would be, I am responsible for what I do with my feelings, and I act in ways I am proud of. Victims, instead of being a victim, we shift into creator. So instead of being a victim to our circumstances or our feelings or whatever we are victim to, we begin to create. We can go, hold on a second. I am no longer that little kid being abused. I now get to have choice, and I now get to create, promote, and allow what I want to experience in my life. Is this working for me? No. So instead of complaining and being victim to it, I'm going to create what it is I want to experience. So that's that. Instead of me complaining and being victim to, oh, woe is me, here I am again, not feeling good, feeling depleted, not wanting to leave my home, going into this space of, hold on a second, let me just get clear. What is this here to teach me? And use it to create what it is I want to be experiencing. This podcast allows me to do so much of that. It's such an amazing opportunity for me to process and to learn, because I want to come to you with some very useful knowledge and tools that are going to help. I'm sure I'm not the only one to experience this kind of experience. And so I often think of you as I'm processing and as I'm pushing myself out of these negative positions that I find myself to be in. And so that in and of itself allows me to be more of a creator, because I feel, and even though I am fully worthy of it, of just doing it for myself, I have this beautiful added benefit of thinking about you and doing it for you too. So thank you. And then instead of being a rescuer and being on the drama triangle as a rescuer, rescuers can empower themselves by facing their issues and to start living out their dreams. They can learn healthy boundaries and start helping people in ways that empower instead of weaken. An affirmation for this would be, I am worthy of being here, being respected, and being loved exactly as I am. So this means like oftentimes we want to rescue ourselves, or we want to rescue someone else when we see them being really uncomfortable. And what if it is just for them? Like it is a miraculous blessing that they are struggling and feeling bad, because it's going to create something for them. This makes me think of butterflies. And when a butterfly is morphing from the caterpillar into the butterfly, they're in a cocoon. And if we help a butterfly out of its cocoon, so if you see the butterfly struggling to get out and you somehow cut it open or let it open and that butterfly goes out, the butterfly is going to die. That butterfly has to struggle in order to get to where they need to be, which is life and living. And so that is true for us too. There is this feeling we have that, oh no, we're not supposed to struggle, or we're not supposed to have negative or sadness or depression or anything like that happen that's somehow bad and wrong. But the reality is sometimes that's there to bring an awareness and to help us. And so what if those things are there to grow and help us? So that's the first thing, the drama triangle. And that's a tool that I use often. I recognize myself on the drama triangle when I'm having conversations with my husband, when I'm having conversations with my children, when I'm having conversations with my team. If a team member is not doing the right thing, I find myself in persecutor, but then victim, because I'm like, we've provided all this and here we are. And that's just no long-term positive solutions are going to happen there if we reside in that drama triangle. So shifting to the empowerment triangle, empowering ourselves. Then there's this idea of ants. So ants are automatic negative thinking, A-N-T, automatic negative thinking. And there's a list of ways we have that these ants pop up in our life and in our thought life. And that is with always or never thinking. So if you find yourself going, gosh, I'm always doing this, or I never get to experience that, or you're always doing this and you never do that, and or this is always happening and never this. Well, we want to stop those ants. We want to be aware of that. Those thoughts are there to allow some awareness to come forth, some clarity to come forth, so that we can stop those ants and not allow them to continue the cycle of our thought life. Another one is focusing on the negative. And this is, for me, something that over this past week, I had huge, huge, huge awareness of. I found myself in a situation where there was somebody who was not doing the right thing. And I'm like one of those people. I am like one of those students who sit in class and there's one kid who is behaving bad or behaving not right or making noise or disrespecting the teacher or whatever. And there could be 30 other kids doing the right thing and the teacher's good and everything's good. Well, I am beside myself, focused on that one person not doing the right thing. And it disrupts me. And I have a very hard time then shifting into thinking about the other 31 people in that room who are doing the right thing and behaving appropriately and stuff. So I have this habit, which is really just what it is a habit of focusing on the negative. And I had this beautiful opportunity this past week where I was like, holy cow, here all this beautiful stuff is going on. And here I am focusing on this one thing that really has nothing to do with anything. And I would like to choose to focus on something else. And I practiced this and I found myself like my ego just really wanting to focus on this negative person. And I'm just like, ugh. And it was disrupting me and causing me to be on the drama triangle and be a persecutor and be a victim and try to be a rescuer to the person that it was being done to and that kind of thing. And just getting on that depletion cycle of the drama triangle. So letting go of focusing on the negative. Then we have catastrophic thinking, which for me, having had the childhood that I had, where I had to get very, very good at, for survival purposes, to ensure my safety, observing the adults and people around me and the environment around me and seeing if they were okay and if it was going to be a safe situation or not. And because of my just childhood upbringing, then I took that into and it created that habit of catastrophic thinking or having to evaluate my environment, then taking that into my young adulthood, my adulthood, and even up until recently, where I'll look at a situation, evaluate the situation, and have this thought if something is safe or unsafe. And then if I deem it as unsafe, immediately going to like the worst possible case scenario, which is then the catastrophic thinking. I also had a situation this past week, and nightmares can be something that have popped up for me ever since I was a small child. And I can have nightmares that are like, terrible. I'm thinking about or dreaming about death and destruction. And this isn't just death and destruction external, like to people I don't know. It's like to my immediate family, people that I absolutely love and cherish. And so that can absolutely wake me up and I can have a very hard time processing. It's almost like a PTSD experience, where I have that coming up for myself. Let me see if I can turn off my little dinger here that keeps popping up. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I think I turned it off. So catastrophic thinking about the worst case scenario of what could happen. Like if my daughter's not home on time, my mind will go, oh my gosh, did she get into a car accident? If my son Jaden, who just recently moved to Anchorage, oh, that's a beautiful awareness for me. Right now, as I just mentioned Jaden, I realized that over the holiday break, right, a few weeks before Christmas, my son Jaden moved down to Anchorage. He's 22 and wanted to move down to Anchorage to get some better internet. He, in Fairbanks, Anchorage is a little bit more exterior to Alaska, has a little bit faster internet, and he is a professional streamer, streams like on TikTok and Twitch and YouTube and those places. And so he moved down on his own and is doing a phenomenal job. And there was this grieving of, I've spent my whole, what feels like life as a mother. Since I was 15, I'd been pregnant, had Angelica when I was 16, and spent my whole life as a mom and did so much of the things that I've done in my life for my children and to ensure my children didn't have a life like I had. And the whole goal of raising children is that they get to a point in life where they're productive members of society as well. And Jaden definitely is and has gone and has been doing a phenomenally amazing job. I am so proud of him. And there was this grieving that took place for me that was very excited and happy for him, but also sad, almost like, okay, what is my identity now? What am I supposed to be doing now? The answer is to be focusing on myself and to be growing myself and to be living life and walking in my purpose and my passion. And so I think that definitely contributed to some of what I was experiencing. This catastrophic thinking, like as Jaden's been down in Anchorage and there was a one day where I couldn't get a hold of him. He had called me and I missed his call. And I tried to call him, couldn't reach him. Several hours I couldn't reach him. And just my catastrophic thinking was like, oh my God, is he okay? And he shares the bottom half of his house. He's kind of helps host an Airbnb for the downstairs neighbors or Airbnb guests. And, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, did something happen with the Airbnb guest? Does someone access his house? Is he safe? And I mean, I go right to like, is he dead? Truthfully, that's like within just seconds, that's where my mind and thoughts go. And that can be incredibly disruptive, as you can imagine, and just cause all sorts of things like cortisol to be released in my body, which is not healthy and good. And then the fight or flight and freeze survival responses come up in my nervous system. And I usually head towards like the freeze part of that survival anymore. I don't really run. There's no real flight. I'll either fight or I'll freeze usually. And so I found myself in a lot of freezing feelings. And so just being mindful and to shift out of catastrophic thinking. And then also an and is mind reading. So assuming somebody is thinking or judging you as something, we can, especially when we're spending a lot of time in our mind, we can create a lot of stories about what we think people think about us. And based totally off of assumption and creating it just because somebody looked at us a certain way. And the reality is we are thinking about ourselves way more than anybody's thinking about us. And so most oftentimes the assumptions that we create in our minds about how people feel about us is just incorrect and wrong. And then as we hold those thoughts, we unconsciously create separation between us and those people. So it's important to not mind read, to not make assumptions, to give generous assumption, positive assumption. If we're going to assume anything, give a generous, positive assumption and don't mind read. We don't know what people are thinking. Somebody could look at you with their RBF. If you don't know what that is, look it up. And it's just they're going through whatever, or they just, their belly's upset, or they just are relaxed in their face and don't even realize they've got a negative look on their face. So who knows? Let go of mind reading. And if you're going to assume, give a generous assumption, a positive assumption about someone. And then guilt tripping. Oh man, can I guilt trip, especially my husband and my kids. So I recognize this in myself over the past 6 weeks or so. And so as I'm struggling, going through what I'm going through, I'm being kind of moody and snappy and don't really want to interact much. And when I do, it's not really positive. And then people start to kind of separate themselves from me and like, oh, well, if you're going to go through that and feel like that and act that way, well, I'm going to just go hang over here. I'm going to go to bed early. And then guilt tripping them. Like, hey, you didn't spend any time with me. And it's like, well, yeah, because you were acting not awesome. And guilt tripping somebody for whatever. And this often happens like when we, instead of asking for what we want, we'll guilt trip someone. So like, I'll do this with my daughter. My daughter, she lives with us, and so do my grandbabies. And sometimes like the dishes weren't done, or the dishes are just sitting in the sink and like, not being attended to. And so I'll guilt trip her. Instead of asking for what I want, I'll say, it would have been nice if the dishes were done. Instead of saying, hey honey, can you please take care of the dishes? Like she'll say, Mom, you can just ask. And so not guilt tripping people. So stomping those guilt tripping ants. Labeling something as bad or wrong or good or bad. The reality is we are not good or bad. We are not right or wrong. It just kind of is the majority of the time. It's the lens in which we see the world. It just is what it is. So not labeling. This is also like not judging, I would imagine too. I think if you're labeling, you're judging something. And so to just let go of judgment completely. And to stop personalizing, which is really don't take things personal. Just to let things be and don't take on things that aren't for you when you have interactions that might be less than positive in the external world. and with people. Don't personalize it. Don't take it personal. So stomping those ants. That's always or never thinking. Don't focus on the negative. Let go of catastrophic thinking, mind reading, guilt tripping, labeling, and personalizing. The other thing is that when we are experiencing these, what I call depleting emotions, the reality is they're there for something. So like I said at the beginning, when I just let myself be, I realize, okay, well, what in the heck is this here to teach me? And I look at it like a knock on the door from God. Like, it's in my life. So if I consider, okay, if it's in my life, it's for me. And I just let it be and stop and let go of it and don't personalize it and just so, okay, I then have this opportunity to get clear. And if I think about the emotions that I'm feeling, I can shift those out. I can sift those emotions out and turn them into something I can use and something I can grow from. So what that looks like is like fear. I definitely over the last 6 weeks or so have felt some fear about finances in my business, for instance. And for me, money, anytime we struggle with money, that's like the worst. I kind of go spiraling when I'm struggling financially. And nothing can really calm me until I know I got some money. I do not like to not have money. I think it definitely comes from myself as a child, just being in poverty and a young mom and all that kind of stuff, and not having food as a kid and not having clothes that looked like everybody else's clothes. And so there can be some major fear that pops up for me surrounding a lack of money. And realizing that fear can be the energy to do my best in a new situation. So, okay, well, if I'm feeling fear about something, what I can say instead is, you know what? I am feeling a lot of fear about our financial situation. And instead, what I'm going to do is be really excited to shift that situation so that I'm not in a dire financial situation ever again. I can use fear and shift it into a place of excitement. Fear and excitement are the same emotion pretty much inside of our bodies. It is felt the same way physiologically. It affects our physical body the same way, fear and excitement. The only thing that's different is the thought that we're holding about it. So if I'm fearful about finances, I'm holding that thought that says, oh my gosh, I don't know how we're going to get through this, whatever. Instead, I can shift into, oh my gosh, I'm excited about this. What can I create, promote, and allow so that I'm never in this situation again? Or if I am, I have resources to pull on. And that can be exciting. What I chose to do is I was like, okay, I'd like to create some additional, and I did this. I shifted out of that fear into excitement. And over this past 6 weeks, I registered for an online business course to teach myself how to create 8 revenue streams online. So I'm in the latter part of this course right now, learning how to take my businesses and what I do in my real estate business and my coaching and turn that into online revenue streams so that I can create abundance and wealth, so that if one avenue begins to get really narrow and not be as financially abundant, I can shift over into these other avenues and these other revenue streams that allow this abundance and allow me to not ever experience a financial lacking. So how exciting. Then another feeling, an emotion that we feel, guilt. That can be something that as I was processing through these past 6 weeks or so, feeling all this guilt about being a leader. So I'm speaking to all those leaders out there now. Because the thing is something that I kept saying is, I should have my shit together. I'm a leader. I own a business. I own businesses. I should have my shit together. I help Tracy Snow and Inspire Leadership Academy. I am a mom and a grandma. I am leading 12 people. I should have my shit together. And so I started to feel this guilt about not. Well, guilt is incredibly depleting, and it's going to keep me stuck in just more situations that create more guilt. And so guilt can be the energy for personal change. So I can take all this, and which I did throughout this process, is go, okay, is this working for me? No, it's not working for me. Feeling exhausted all day, every day is not working for me. So I can shift that into the energy to create positive personal change and go, okay, well, what do I want to experience instead? And go from victim to creator. What a blessing. Then we have unworthiness. And as you can imagine, I was experiencing some unworthiness. And I need to go back. I was talking to leaders. And here's the thing, leaders. As we build our businesses and as we build our teams and as we build our lives and our families and whatever you're leading, even if you're just leading yourself, you're a leader. Everyone is a leader in some shape or fashion. We can often get to this idea that, oh, I'm not supposed to be feeling this way, or what is wrong with me for feeling this way. The reality is you're just like everyone else. We're just like everyone else. And we're spiritual beings living this human existence. And our job is to evolve spiritually and grow our spirit. And so let go of the idea that we're somehow supposed to have our shit together. The reality is we're not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. And our job isn't to be perfect. Our job is to be our highest self and to be good to ourselves and others and love ourselves and others. And so to let go of that guilt and that judgment that says you're bad and wrong or aren't worthy because you're a leader and going through something. Okay. I think there's a lot of people who create really big things, and when it begins to fail, I think that they can be faced sometimes with big, huge emotions, like feeling like there's no solution. So they choose to kill themselves, or they get so depressed and there's so much shame and stuff because they're somehow supposed to be up on this ladder of success and they fail. And so their whole life and their world comes tumbling down because they've got this idea that somehow they're supposed to be more than they are. It's just not loving to be that way. We're all imperfect people. And so give yourself some love and grace. This next one, unworthiness, is right in line with that. And unworthiness is just the energy to keep ourselves on track. So anytime we're feeling unworthy, it's an opportunity for us to just get clear about, isn't this interesting? I'm feeling unworthy. I don't feel worthy for this or that, or this relationship, or that success, or this abundance, or that child, or this house, or that friend, or whatever. Or just to live, I don't feel worthy. It's an opportunity to keep us on track, to create, promote, and allow what it is we want to experience. And the reality is every single person on this planet is worthy. It doesn't matter what they've done in their life. We are all God's children. It doesn't matter what we've done. And so anytime we separate ourselves from God, it oftentimes can create that unworthiness. So let it, instead of deplete you, allow it to uplift you and to remind you of what your course is and what you would like to experience, and allow that then loving, pour on that loving and allow it to guide you back on course. Hurt feelings. So hurt feelings can remind you of how much you care. I am a sensitive soul, I have been a sensitive girl ever since I was a little girl. And so my little feelings can get hurt sometimes. And I can cry um, and just let it remind you that that's just because you care so much. So if you find yourself having your feelings hurt, or if you find yourself being emotional because somebody hurt your feelings and you don't want to be crying about it and you're trying to get stronger, or you're judging yourself as somehow weak because you're crying or because your feelings are hurt, just let that remind you and uplift you that you really are a sensitive, loving soul and you care so much. Anger. Anger's a big one. We can be angry at other people. We can be angry at ourselves. We can be angry at God. We can be angry at situations. We can be angry for a multitude of reasons. Anger, there's nothing wrong with anger. Anger is not a bad emotion. None of these are bad emotions. These are all meant to guide us into something God is calling us for. So let anger be the energy for change. For anger is the energy to create positive change in your life. So let that be. Also, when dealing with anger, so there's also this tool that I learned that is the layers of the inner critic, the messages that the inner critic gives us that often start with anger. And so we're feeling really angry. And the reality is there's 4 steps to anger. Underneath anger is always fear. So we're feeling all this anger. And if you go underneath that anger, you'll find that there's some sort of fear there. And then if you go underneath that fear, you're going to find that there was a specific request that you had. So say I'm angry with my husband. We've talked. We had my marriage podcast last year. We know the situation that John and I went through, and I was really angry with John for what I felt like was him stepping out of our marriage, even though it wasn't a physical thing. In my mind, he dishonored me and stepped out of our marriage. I was angry. And if I really stop and evaluate that anger, underneath that was extreme fear that I wasn't good enough, that he wasn't loving me, that my family was breaking down, that my children wouldn't have a father, that someone was better than me, that he didn't love me, that I wasn't good enough, all sorts of things. This fear was there. And then underneath that was the specific request. And the specific request was, I want you to honor me and love me and cherish me no matter what I look like or go through or what my physical body is going through. At that time, I was losing babies and having surgeries and not feeling well physically at all and very depressed. So I had this specific request that says, no matter what, that you're going to love and honor me. And then underneath that was love. If I look at that specific request and I go underneath it, well, the reality is I love my husband so much. And I have this idea in my mind about how I want us to be. And so that is true for any sort of anger. Anytime we have anger, it starts from a place of love. We've got that specific request. Then we've got that fear we're experiencing, and that turns into anger. And so let anger give you the energy for change. And that is, if we allow ourselves to do that, miracles and beauty abound for sure. And then lastly, we have discouragement. So discouragement can reveal your courage. So anytime we're feeling discouragement, we're lacking some courage. We are distancing ourselves from that courage, and we are just stepping out of our rightful place in the world, which is to be having courage and to be empowering ourselves and encouraging ourselves and other people. And so we can find ourselves discouraging ourselves or discouraging other people. And so discouragement can oftentimes lead you to just reveal how courageous you are and can be, and to empower and encourage yourself and others, rather than discouraging yourself or others. So, my friends, as I've been processing through, was one of the last things I wanted to do was get on here and chat with all of you about my experience over the last 6 weeks. My hope was I was going to just have all these beautiful experiences that were so positive and wonderful, and I could come and share with you. And this was my experience instead, which is still wonderful and beautiful and positive, because look at what we get to do here is connect on this deep level. I invite you, and the reality is as we change our thought life, and this comes, we've talked about affirmations in previous podcasts, really being aware of the thoughts we're holding. We have between 50,000 and 60,000 plus thoughts per day. I'll repeat that, 50 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Some of those are conscious, many of those are subconscious thoughts. And so these thoughts are what create our life. And so getting control and assessing the thoughts that we're holding about ourselves, about other people, about situations, about events, and doing an evaluation on what my thoughts, what is my mind holding? What thoughts am I holding? And shifting those thoughts. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm bad and wrong, sit there and think, I'm awesome, I'm beautiful, I'm perfect just the way that I am. If you need help, if it's hard for you to shift those thoughts just by thinking, begin to speak that out. And just, I invite you just to do that and to evaluate your thoughts, not judge them as bad and wrong. So that's not what we're going for. We're not going for you to take an evaluation, an inventory of your thoughts and then go, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? All these horrible negative thoughts. I would even invite you to write them down on a journal just all day. Spend one day writing down all the thoughts that you're aware of that you're holding, and give yourself an opportunity at the end of that day to read through them and then shift them. Find those negative thoughts and shift those in writing verbally into positive, encouraging, empowering thoughts. I guarantee and promise you that as you begin to do that, it's a miraculous process. Just by the mere shifting of our thoughts, things become lighter and easier. Our emotions are lighter and easier. Things are much more graceful in our life. Our connections are more powerful. We have more connections, more positive connections in our life. Things happen with much more grace and ease. We find ourselves healthier. We find ourselves wanting to eat better, wanting to hydrate more, wanting to move more, wanting to leave our home more, wanting to do more things like take classes and build businesses and all that sort of thing. And it is miraculous. It can change in an instant when you do that. And it might feel at first like you're lying to yourself. You know, as you begin to shift these thoughts, you're really, really holding the thought that you're somehow bad or wrong. And okay, I'm going to sit here and go, I'm beautiful and miraculous and wonderful. And I might not believe that right now, but I promise you, the more that you correct yourself and challenge yourself to get outside of your comfort zone and to go, okay, well, Jen said, I need to shift my thoughts, so I'm going to practice shifting my thoughts. The more you do that, the more you will find what a miraculous process that really is. So I'm looking at my notes. I think I went through everything I wanted to go through. I am excited to be back with you. I am going to be working more. I'm going to be creating more online opportunities for us throughout this quarter throughout this year that I'm excited to be sharing with you. I am going to allow myself just to be divinely guided about all that. I don't quite know. I don't really have anything to share with you specifically right now, but I know it's going to be awesome. And I know there's going to be some amazing opportunities that are going to be coming our way here soon. So be ready. I am back. This is episode 13. I am going to be back. So I'll be back every week from here forward. I'll take a break in April. And so for the next couple months, I'll be with you every Thursday by 8 a.m. Alaska time. Remember, you can go to my website, jenmajors.com, and get some information about the things that I offer. I offer some coaching. If you're interested in any kind of real estate stuff, I'm going to be talking a lot to leaders this year about how to shift our lives and businesses, how to create the life and business that we desire in our hearts, how to create a vision and mission for our life, how to flesh out the things that we desire for our lives and for our family and our business and just the path that we have, how to get on and stay on course and all that kind of stuff. And I am very excited and feel very honored and privileged to be here with you. It is one of the coolest things I get to do. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for these last 50 minutes or so. Welcome back. And I will be back with you next week. Until then, be blessed, my friends.